Hi, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. Look, have you feeling like you're not living up to your genetic potential? Frankly, look, you know that genetics loads the gun, but your lifestyle is what pulls the trigger. You may be like me. My dad died of a heart attack at 52. And I feel like I'm putting up rookie numbers. I'm getting close to 60. I haven't had my heart attack. Matter of fact, I don't have any symptoms of having any heart problems at all. So I feel like I'm putting up some pretty darn rookie numbers right now. So I want to help give you my top tips on how to live up to your genetic potential and have the heart attack of your dreams. This is some special stuff that, frankly, very few people are talking about on the internet. But, if you want to have the great heart attack that is actually going to take you out of the game of life, then follow these tips. Stick around with me on this one. What's cool about these tips is you don't have to smoke. You don't have to drink to excess. You don't even have to use illicit drugs. Now look, if you're smoking and drinking to excess and using illicit drugs, keep it up. If you're going to have a heart attack, those are, but not everybody wants to do that. But, frankly, if you're doing those things, they're going to increase your chances of having that heart attack pretty dramatically. So, if you want to have a heart attack, keep that stuff up because you're doing great. You're on your way, but not everybody wants to. So let's talk about my secret tips on how to have the heart attack of your dreams as quickly and as easily as possible. And number one, with a bullet, if you want to have a heart attack, get type 2 diabetes. And you may be sitting to yourself thinking, oh shucks, I don't have type 2 diabetes. I have great news for you. There's a really good chance you already have it and you don't even know it. See, UCLA did a study where they looked at Californians and they found out that 55% of that state, and California is a pretty darn healthy, skinny state. It's one of the skinniest in the country, one of the healthiest in the country, and 55% of the state was type 2 diabetic or pre-type 2 diabetic. So odds are, wherever you happen to be, you probably have type 2 diabetes and you don't even know it. So how do you know? Well, I'm going to tell you a very secret little thing that your doctor doesn't even know. See, you can get a blood test and you don't even need your doctor's permission. Just Google, get a blood test without my doctor's permission. And guess what? There's going to be a whole host of different sites that are going to pop up where you can order your own blood test online and then go to a lab and they'll do the blood draw for you. And they'll do it really darn cheap. Probably cheaper than they'll even do at the doctor's office, even if you have insurance. And there's a test that your doctor probably doesn't give you, but you ought to know it, because if you want to be a type 2 diabetic, you need to know this number. You want to get your fasting insulin level. So just Google it, go get a blood test without my doctor knowing it, get a fasting insulin level. And if that level is above 8, odds are you're a type 2 diabetic already. Which is great news if you want to have a heart attack. So if you want to have that heart attack of your dreams, go ahead and do that. So you're probably already there, but just to be sure, let's do some stuff that is going to guarantee that you can become a type 2 diabetic. Now, one of the things that the medical profession ain't going to tell you about getting a heart attack is they want you to be all concerned about stuff like your cholesterol level. And frankly, that ain't going to get you the heart attack. There was a big article in the Journal of the American Medical Association that just kind of looked at, what's the big risk factors for having a heart attack? And guess what? Your cholesterol level hardly even showed up. That ain't going to get you a heart attack. Matter of fact, there was this really good UCLA study where they compared, people that were in the hospital with heart attacks, and they drew blood and they checked their cholesterol levels. And guess what? It didn't make any difference. Some of them had high cholesterol. Some of them had low cholesterol. Some of them had, recommended cholesterol. It didn't make any difference at all. So quit messing around with the cholesterol. That's what's keeping you from having the heart attack that you want. What you want is the type 2 diabetes. That's what's going to get you, give you the heart attack. So if you want to have the heart attack, let's get type 2 diabetes. Well, how do you get that? Well, it's easy. Matter of fact, it's cheap, it's easy, and it's delicious. Because look, what you're going to be eating is a bunch of hyper palatable, manufactured human pet chow. I mean, and what's really cool is the government subsidizes the cost of all the ingredients in that, so it's really darn cheap. So, if you're going to do this, I want you to, when you start going to the grocery store, I want you to only pay attention to the middle aisles. I mean, do not walk around the place and go by the vegetable section and any place where there's a single ingredient food. If it says milk, don't get just milk. I mean, I want you to get the almond milk with 20 ingredients on it. If you've got to get milk, do me a favor. Only get skim milk. I mean, zero fat. You know why? Because that's what they use to fatten up hogs. I mean, I'm not kidding. Look up any book on how to fatten up a hog. The number one thing they're going to give hogs is skim milk. So that's the way that, if you're going to get type 2 diabetes, drink that, artificial nut milk or drink lots of skim milk. And then ultra processed food. I mean, I want you to go walking through that middle aisle and grab stuff off the shelf. And I want you to look at the ingredient label. And if it's got more than 5 ingredients and you can't pronounce half of them, I mean, you look at that thing and you're going, monosodium glutamate, okay, throw that in your cart. Because that's the stuff that's going to help you get the diabetes that you deserve. Because if you want to have a heart attack, that's what you want. So load up on ultra processed food, which is great because that means you get to eat things like Doritos, Pringles, lots of ice cream, soda. Don't forget the soda. I mean, don't get the diet stuff. Get the real stuff with lots of high fructose corn syrup. I mean, you want to start boosting that blood sugar level up. Now, here's a bonus tip. A lot of people haven't thought about this one, but it really works great. Go over to the American Diabetes Association website and start following their food guide. Now, don't take the drugs that they recommend, like the insulin and metformin and other stuff. I mean, all that's going to, look, you follow their guideline and you take their drugs, you're going to have the heart attack. It's just going to be delayed a lot longer. If you take the pharmaceuticals, it's just going to expand out the process a lot longer and, probably cost you an arm and a leg, literally, when they have to amputate them later on. So I want you to avoid their recommendations for the drugs, but follow their food guide, where you're eating 5 small meals a day, high carb. They got a great apple crisp recipe that'll help you become a type 2 diabetic in no time. So go take a look at their website, follow their food recommendations. That's going to help you out dramatically as far as increasing your chances of getting type 2 diabetes, because that is the number one biggest risk factor of all time when it comes to having a really great coronary event. If you want to die of a heart attack, frankly, look, you don't want to have a minor heart attack. You want to have a widowmaker. You want to be taken out of the game. If you follow the dietary guidelines from the American Diabetic Association, you're going to have a minor heart attack, one that they're going to put a stent in. You don't want that. You want the big stuff. So just follow the food guidelines, but don't, just ignore their drug recommendations. Okay, so we're going to work up those numbers and get you to be a type 2 diabetic. Now you're cooking with gas, but I'm going to give you some bonus tips that your doctor isn't going to talk to you about. And that is metabolic syndrome. What metabolic syndrome is the 5 biggest risk factors that you can put together next to type 2 diabetes that is going to help you have the heart attack that you really want. If you really want to be the talk of your next Thanksgiving dinner because you went out with a big blaze of glory and a huge heart attack, this is what you want. You want to have metabolic syndrome. And your doctor doesn't even talk to you about it. You want to have a heart attack and he doesn't even tell you what you got to do to have metabolic syndrome. And look, frankly, it's 5 things. But what's really cool is you don't have to be an overachiever. See, most of the time, in order to get something that's going to kill you pretty darn quickly, you got to do all of it. But with metabolic syndrome, you get to be a C- student. you only have to have 3 out of the 5. So what are those things that you really need in order to have full-scale metabolic syndrome? Number 1, you want to have a big spare tire. The bigger the waist, the better. 40 inches or more for a guy, 35 for a woman. That's called a Dunlap. It's Dunlapped over my belt. You want to have that big old belly. And that big old belly is going to help you like crazy to get the heart attack of your dreams. Then, and what's really cool about all this stuff is everything that I was telling you about with the diet is going to help you get full-scale metabolic syndrome. Odds are you're going to probably get all 5, but you only need 3 out of the 5. So remember, just 3 out of the 5 is enough to get you metabolic syndrome. So you got the big belly. That's good, and that's probably going to increase your blood pressure, and that's number 2. So blood pressure above 135 is considered 135 over 85 is where you're starting to get into that high category, and the higher the better. Don't take any drugs to help take care of that stuff. But when you start eating that special pre-diabetes diet, it's probably going to increase your blood pressure, because the more carbohydrates you put in your diet, you're going to increase your body's ability to retain fluid, inflammation. You feel a little achy and all that. You got to work past that and maintain the fluid pressure. See, this is kind of the secret sauce on this whole thing. It's kind of like when you've got a hose and you're holding the end of it and you're turning the water on. There's a lot of water in there. That's increasing the pressure in the hose. So you can increase the pressure, in your blood vessels just the same way by increasing the amount of fluid. And the way you increase the amount of fluid, carbohydrates. So if you can't eat the carbohydrates, don't worry about the salt. Salt's not going to increase your blood pressure. The big thing that's going to really increase your blood pressure are the carbs. So we want to have that thing going up. Now, we've got, we're throwing in carbs and sugar from our diet in there, which is going to have a really cool effect on metabolic syndrome. Number 3, fasting glucose level. Now, this requires a blood work, but guess what? Your doctor will do this one. So you don't have to worry about it. You can go to, anytime you go to your doctor's office, they're going to do it. They don't know what it means, but they're going to check it. And I want you to be shooting for a number over 125. If your fasting glucose is over 125, you're there. That's what you want. So right now, hopefully you've got maybe 2 out of the 3 of metabolic syndrome. Now this is the stuff of legends. Okay, the next 2 are things that you've been getting for years. You probably have somewhere in one of your files, your old blood work, and you just never even bothered looking at these 2 numbers because they're in your cholesterol panel, but your doctor doesn't talk to you about them because they don't know what it means. So what you're going to look at under your cholesterol panel, there's 2 other cholesterol levels. One of them is called triglycerides, and the other one is HDL. And with your triglyceride levels, which is kind of an indicator of how many carbohydrates you're eating, you want that number to be really high. I mean, as high as we can possibly get it. How high? 125 or above. If we can get that over 125, 125 is kind of a rookie number, but we want to get that even higher. So let's knock that sucker as high as we possibly can. 200, 250, you're doing good. So if you want to get that heart attack, 200, 225, that's what you're shooting for. The other number that you've probably never looked at is that part of that cholesterol panel that's called an HDL. And they say, that's the so-called good cholesterol. And they don't know how in the heck, your average doctor, because there's not a pill for that, they don't know how to adjust that. With your LDL, they can give you a statin, they can lower that number. But there's no pill that's going to increase your HDL. But you don't want to have a real high HDL cholesterol if you want to have a heart attack. If you want to have a heart attack, you want that as low as you can go. 40 and below is where you want to be. If your HDL cholesterol is sitting around the 25, brother, you are heading right toward that major heart attack that's going to take you, that's going to be a serious widowmaker. That's what we want. So take a look at your blood work. You probably already have it, that number. But take a look at it. That number needs to be below 40. But, in the triglyceride, 125 or higher. And the cool thing is when you look at all those suckers together, you don't have to get all 5. You just need 3 out of the 5. Odds are, if you're an American, you're already there. So if you want to have the heart attack, get yourself type 2 diabetes. You're probably already there. Odds are, if you're an American, you're already that way. And you want to have metabolic syndrome. And frankly, you're probably there too, because only about 12% of this country is metabolically healthy. So odds are, you are probably right on the edge of this stuff. But I'm going to give you some couple of bonus tips that are going to knock this stuff out of the park. Okay? So here's bonus tip number 1. Veg out. If you want to have a heart attack, become a complete couch potato. I do not want you engaged in any activity at all, particularly weight-bearing activity, like weightlifting, using bands, calisthenics, body weight exercise, and all that type of stuff, because that builds muscle. And muscle takes glucose out of the bloodstream, and you don't want that. If you want to have a heart attack, you want to be with as little muscle tissue as you possibly can, which means you just sit around and do nothing. Now, that a lot of folks, that means playing video games or just watching movies. But if you really want to be serious about getting your heart attack, hey, start watching the news. When you watch CNN and do nothing about it, don't call your congressman, don't take any action, just listen to all the horrible things that are going on in the world 24/7. That is going to increase your overall stress levels, and that's going to help you on your path to having the heart attack of your dreams. So if you really want to have a serious heart attack, watch the news constantly. Don't do any activity. Just sit there and stew in it all. Now, a couple of extra bonus tips that are going to really help you get over the hump and get the heart attack as quickly as you possibly can. Get a crappy job. Something that's really high stress, and I don't want you to take any actions or control over it. Matter of fact, if you just stare at your fellow workers, people won't talk to you. And then you'll be isolated at work. And people are going to be sitting there staring, they won't talk to you. Don't talk to your boss about improving your skill level or anything like that. Don't be looking for another job. I want you to stay in a really crummy job with a lot of pressure and you not being able to do anything about it, and don't take any action. And if you don't take any action, that's going to increase your stress levels, and that's going to do wonders for helping you to have the heart attack that you really want. So really work hard at isolating yourself and not having any fun at work. And the more crummy the job, the better. Closely related to that, horrible relationships. Frankly, look, what you need to do is start dating, finding people that have drug habits and complain all the time and don't want to work together. God, do not get somebody that actually enjoys physical intimacy and sex and stuff like that, and hugging and kissing and things. You don't want that. You want nagging. You want to have, like you're walking on eggshells all the time at home. That's perfect. And, frankly, if you want to make sure that, you boost things up a notch and you really get that heart attack even faster, divorce them. And then get into another crummy relationship. Do that a couple of times, and the widow maker is right around the corner. A couple of good, juicy divorces from horrible relationships do wonders to help you get the heart attack of your dreams. Some things to avoid: church, social gatherings, interacting with other people. Frankly, there's a couple of kinds of stress. If you want to have a heart attack, if you really seriously want to die dead of a heart attack, you want chronic stress. And the way you get chronic stress is, again, to that diet, that high sugary, ultra processed food diet that I'm talking about. That's going to help give you the type 2 diabetes. It's going to inflame your arteries. That's great stuff, and that's chronic stress. And the bad relationships, the bad job, Those are all chronic stresses. And then you throw in CNN and you are on your way. I mean, that's chronic stress. What you don't want is acute stress. And acute stress is a temporary short-term stuff like going out and meeting new people and enjoying relationships or taking action, to actually solve a problem. Don't do that type of stuff. Don't exercise because that's an acute stress. I mean, those things will go up for a little while, but then they go down and they actually make you stronger and better and take care of those problems and makes you healthier. And that ain't what we want. If you want the heart attack, you don't want acute stress, you want chronic stress. This is the stuff that is the stuff of legends when it comes to having a really fantastic, stupendous stuff that you can write home about, that you can take a lot of pride in. Where your entire family is going to be sitting around going, wow, he had a major heart attack. And look, he didn't even drink or smoke or do illicit drugs. What in the world happened? Well, you know the secret. You know what it takes to have a really great heart attack. And it doesn't require the drugs. It doesn't require the smoking. It doesn't require the heavy drinking. You can do it just through lifestyle. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore, and I hope you do not take that advice. Frankly, I mean, I'm trying to be sarcastic, but I'm trying to drive home a point. You have a lot more control over your heart and your heart attack risk than most people think. And your doctor, unfortunately, because of the way our system works, isn't going to spend enough time with you to help you get over this stuff. But you got a lot of control. So this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I try to put out a message a couple of times a week. If you like this, please like, subscribe, share. Let other people know about this stuff. I don't know. I've never seen it quite put this way on how to have a heart attack. But hopefully other people will see it and start sharing that type of message and start thinking about it. And thinking about the amount of control that they really have over their own heart and health. And what a difference lifestyle and their diet can make. So please hit the like, subscribe. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I will talk to you soon.